I didn't have any experience with chiropractic. I saw that you guys were offering x-ray training, on-site training, and then that would be part of my position. And I just thought overall it sounded really great and different. And I was fascinated with the clinic. I looked at the website, watched a bunch of videos, and I was like, this is different than anything I've ever done or experienced myself. And so I thought it'd be amazing. And so I applied, went through the interview process, got hired, and off to the races. But then that was February 2020, and we all know what happened in March.
Yeah.
COVID happened. So that, I mean, it drastically kind of slowed down the training process because there was so much unknown, but it was great for me because as my position there is being scribe, new patient coordinator, and x-ray specialist. So it was kind of 3 hats in one. And so it gave me an opportunity to really dive deep into each one. But even without that, the training setup prior, I feel like what am I trying to say? The material setup for my training, for my position, really set me up for success.
So share that because, in the past, we didn't have really like written or video training material. When you came in, a lot of that was developed. It wasn't all perfectly developed. I know that you've helped even take it and move it further, which, just to tell the audience as a little sneak peek, and hopefully we'll have time to get into it today. Part of our dream and our goal here, part of Jenna's dream and goal, and I think her strengths, she should be teaching this stuff. She should be teaching other chiropractic clinics and other scribes and other assistants on how to get up to par, because she really does a very excellent job doing this. And part of that's her personality, part of that's just her work ethic, but it's also the systems and the training and now her expertise. Like, she can run a lot of what we do on a daily basis. It can be duplicated to other people. Right. So now backing up, when Jenna came in, what resources did you have? I don't even remember what was there. I remember we had like a manual for, right? Right.
So we had the clinic manual, we had a scribe manual, but the biggest thing was the girl who had the position before me, Kaylee, because I think she was the first one that really was all 3 in one. You guys kind of merged a couple different positions to create what I am now, which I think is very doable. And I think it was a smart move for you guys to do all 3 in one, meaning scribe, new patient coordinator, and x-ray specialist. So she created a binder for me and it outlaid everything. And so I use that and I have added onto it quite a bit as we've changed some of our systems and we've added a few things. But that, with examples of certain things, laid out instructions, how to know, like, there was just so much in there. I could really go into detail about it, but it would take a long time because there's just so much in that binder. But that plus the scribe manual really set me up for success.
Yeah. And prior, Jenna's mentioning our prior scribe, which was Kaylee. So when Kaylee was working there, we actually had another guy, Sam, who was our x-ray, like our x-ray guy and new patient coordinator. That was only his role. The problem is Sam didn't have enough to do all the time, because like if we didn't have a new patient or we didn't have a lot of new patients that week, it was like trying to find him stuff to do. And, he was eager and willing to do it, but it was just excessively staffed, I think. Exactly. And then the problem was having to then relay the information from him to the scribe and figure out that connection.
Yeah.
And so it's like, in some cases, having too many staff or having too many positions spread out just actually accounts for more work at the end of the day.
I agree.
Versus finding someone who can balance it all, prioritize and execute it all, do it all. And then it's one person that's doing it. Also having a backup person, though, if that person needs to go out of town or is sick or something as well, which we kind of have that too, right?
Yes. And with Emily, Emily knows a lot of what I do. We're actually doing some x-ray analysis training right now with her, which she's been catching on really quick. But I think that binder and just having, which
just to correct terminology, it's x-ray marking.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes. Because technically the analysis is done by the doctor. The marking, though, is done by the team. Right. And I'll tell you, Jenna marks x-rays. So she identifies anatomical points, puts markings on them. We have 2 different systems that we use. One is our Gonstead analysis. So it's just very objective line marking. At first it's subjective. It becomes objective once you've looked at 10,000 x-rays. Yeah. And I think at this point, you've probably marked 1,000 x-rays at least.
Be fun to count.
Yeah, but it's probably 1,000 because
I would say.
you think of all the new patients, you think of all the comparative x-rays, you think of all
Random x-rays of patients who have been coming in for years that
Yeah.
just need new ones.
Yeah. So Jenna is definitely better at taking x-ray than I am at this point. And like when I need to fill in and take an x-ray, I'm like wiping off the cobwebs because like I haven't taken one in months and months, and she does this on a regular basis. So it's marking points using Gonstead analysis, which is pelvic analysis, and then marking some other things primarily on the AP, right? And then chiropractic biophysics analysis, we use posture A. And so that's also something that definitely takes skill to understand how to do that. Jenna's really good at that. So much so that I would say she's probably our gold standard in the clinic as far as x-ray marking, above and beyond me, and even above and beyond Dr. Zach in some cases. No offense to Dr. Zach, but it's just that Jenna has done so many of them. And yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking if I should take that back on Dr. Zach. Sorry, Dr. Zach. But it's like on flexion extension x-rays and looking at rotation, I think it's just, I've spent so much time kind of nitpicking.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. So it's like, you'll mark it and I'll be like, see that line? Move that off a little bit.
And that's why when I train, as I'm training Emily and as I've trained staff in the past on how to mark x-rays, I always say like, I'm still learning. I've been here for a couple of years and I'm still learning because there'll still be certain things that need correcting, and I'm all for it. And I enjoy that because it's not a one size fits all with x-ray. And we've even have people ask us in the past, like, isn't there just like a program that'll mark it for you? And you could say, yeah, but it's just not unique because everyone's different. Position can be a little bit different. It can cause vertebra to look different. So
yeah. So, okay. I cut you off on when you were talking about marking x-ray and Emily, and you're going through some stuff
right.
like that.
So I was going to say the binder that I have for when I go out of town, or if I need someone to fill in for me, it is that having proper training tools, like a manual, this binder that I've been referencing, that allows for anyone just to open it up, and it's very obvious of how to chart notes, how to prep certain materials, like for a goals appointment, for re-reports. Gosh, there's just so many things, but it outlays everything. So anyone can open up that binder, even if that's not their position, and pretty much be able to figure it out with, of course, having you check certain things, but it makes everyone's lives easier.
So my thought is, obviously our audience for this podcast, whether you're listening to the audio, you're watching the video on YouTube or some of the link, our audience varies between members of Move Now University that are following our systems and have put a lot of the stuff in place, to members that have just barely put a couple things in place, to non-members that are trying to pick up tips and maybe are figuring out if this is a system that would work for them. Now, I'm biased, but I feel like our systems are as dialed in as you could possibly have dialed in any chiropractic clinic. Like, I have not seen any better for how we practice. Now, we don't practice simplistic chiropractic and we're just doing adjusting. We're adjusting and we're doing specific rehab. It's not one size fits all generic rehab. So it's all dialed into the individual. So it's like 3 clinics in one. We're doing specific adjusting. We're doing curve correction with chiropractic biophysics, and then functional movement, which involves doing a movement assessment and then prescribing various tracks of movement protocols to fix those dysfunctions. And all that happens together, and the team executes it together, and we have it highly documented, and it moves fairly smoothly most of the time. Like, I feel like it's pretty hard for someone to complain about how things flow in our clinic. It's like, it's fairly smooth. Patients usually don't wait very long unless maybe it's their first couple of visits prior to getting everything mapped out. And most importantly, the results are really great, and patients feel like they're well tended to, and they've been taught things that they could use for the rest of their life. So in previous podcasts or videos, I've talked about this, that obviously we didn't open our doors and have all this stuff in place on day one. We built it, and it was like working tirelessly to put the systems together. And I think the thing that drove me to build it and enhance it and improve it was I would literally lay in bed at night and I'd be like, okay, there's still this piece that's missing. There's this that's missing. There's this part that a patient needs. There's this unknown. And so then we'd have to create another system to fill that void until you finally got to the point where you're like, I feel like we got like 95% of it covered, right? Like there's always little tweaks we can do to make it better, but like the foundation is there. It's solid. That's what you came into.
Yeah.
And then helped even run it even smoother.
Right. And
Right.
I was going to say, it's nice coming into a clinic where everyone, when you already have systems dialed in, it also allows for a little bit of tweaks and changes here and there, which there hasn't been much, but there's just little things here and there that I can think of that we've added to or changed.
Like virtual appointments is
Virtual
one that's,
appointments,
Yeah.
which has been amazing.
Yeah. Which
for everyone.
Which, you know, I've done past podcasts on the virtual appointments. So if you're listening to this right now, you never heard of that before, go back to some previous podcast episodes, look up where we talk about virtual appointments, because that was one of the biggest game changers that we started. I think it's been about 2 years since we've been doing them.
Yeah.
Or pretty close.
Close.
And that's doing day 2, day 3. So doing like X-ray review and care plan recommendations, which would be like clinical and financial, all through Zoom. I did one this morning, supposed to have a second one, but they didn't show up to it, which is very rare.
And I was going to say, that's probably the only downfall. That's like the only thing.
But it's super rare.
It is.
It's very rare. And it's funny. I did a podcast with Dr. Kronk last week, and I was telling him about the virtual stuff, and he was really intrigued by it. And he was like, but what's the show rate of patients? And I was like 99.9%. I mean, it's like everyone shows up to it because we have all these systems to ensure that they show up for it.
It's because we have systems. Yeah.
We have systems. They have text message reminders. They have email reminders. And even with all that, you'll still get a couple people that slip through the cracks. They're like, I never got the reminder, or I don't know what the link is. Right. But we have a backup plan for that too. We get it over to them. It makes us start, 3 to 5 minutes late, and it still works out because we have a little buffer built in. But, okay, so virtual appointments was one of the things.
And just small things here and there, but overall working for you and just in a clinic with my teammates. I was gonna say with other staff, but really with my teammates, we all build on each other. And if there's something that's kind of missing as I've been auditing the schedule, between me and the front desk and with Emily, even with Danny, it's like, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to make things easier? And it's small things here and there, but being able to tweak processes has been great.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Move Now Chiropractor podcast. And be sure to join our free Facebook group, Functional Movement for Chiropractors, to learn more about how Move Now University can help you with your systems and your clinical practice. Be sure to watch our 30-minute pre-recorded demo at demo.movenowu.com. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you on the next one.